Well, World Championship 7 ended, but there's still the Golden Bolt side tournament to cover. BattleBots Champions 2 is the second season of the spin-off Champions series. Any bot who didn't make it past the round of 16 is eligible to sign up for the series, and 40 bots will fight in 5 Sin City Slugfest brackets of 8 competitors, and the winners of these 5 brackets join the main bracket for the Golden Bolt. Honestly, the Golden Bolt is a way better trophy than the Giant Nut. If I was a competitor, I'd intentionally throw my matches just to guarantee a spot in the Bolt tournament. So the 5 Slugfest winners will be joined by all former Giant Nut winners to complete the bracket of 8. This year, 3 out of the 5 reboot winners are still competing. There's the previous World Championship 6 winner Tantrum, current champion Sawblaze, and World Championship 5 and last season's Golden Bolt winner Endgame, who all automatically qualify for the final bracket. Tombstone took this season off, and Bite Force, who knows. The first Sin City Slugfest this season has Rotator vs Terrortops, Valkyrie vs Ominous, Switchback vs Kraken, and the opening fight, Shreddit Bro vs Skorpios. So I don't have much to say about Skorpios, other than it's always been a consistent performer. It and Kraken are the only hammer saws outside of Sawblaze this season, who they admittedly get overshadowed by. But Skorpios by itself is good, and it had one of the best win-loss records before Season 6, even better than Sawblaze at the time. It definitely was one of the most underrated bots at the time. The past 2 seasons though haven't been its best, and it was knocked out by Huge in the round of 32. And with Shreddit Bro, all most people could say at the time was... yikes. The drum spinner went a decent 2-2 in the main season qualifiers, but still didn't make the main tournament. As a rookie, that seems good, and you might wonder why they didn't make it over a few 1-3 robots. Well, if you watch the fights, you'll see that it barely functioned and gave us, frankly, snooze-fest fights. The design itself is good and meta, but it always had something going wrong. At the very least, it showed its true potential in its last fight against Overhaul, but considering Team Shreddit's previous entry, Pain Train, was also bad, and even worse in Season 5 and 6, not many people were excited for their appearance here. But in their defense, Shreddit Bro the Beetleweight is a champion of many tournaments. It's just the team has had trouble building heavyweights, which is completely understandable. However, with the way the team and Captain Evan Arias were hyping up the Bro in the Slugfest, some people, including me, were considering the idea of a Shreddit Bro surprise sweep. After all, Hypershock and Glitch did the same in Champions 1.
Let the bot battle begin!
Skorpios won the low ground first and did some minor pushing. Shreddit Bro grinded Skorpios' front end and then ended up inverting itself. The Bro bounced off of Skorpios right as the hammer saw came down, ending with Shreddit Bro upright again and a dislodged chain to Skorpios' disc. Shreddit Bro amped up its weapon power and sent Skorpios airborne. With the scoop now bent, Skorpios was getting popped up by a constant onslaught from Shreddit Bro, eventually getting disabled by one of Shreddit Bro's underbelly strikes. Too bad Shreddit Bro got caught up on Skorpios' plow and KO'd itself. Just kidding. Shreddit Bro got the win. Uh-oh, is this the start? Here we have an alternate competing in the spin-off tournament, Terrortops. Yeah, it is a 4-wheel drive vertical spinner.
Shut the fuck!
But it at least has a unique theme and game plan. It's meant to use its lifter to prop up bots and strike the underbelly. Now up till this episode, it was an undefeated rookie going a shocking 2-0, beating fellow alternates Slammo and Dragon King? I mean, its spinner is actually pretty powerful, but it's going against the under, or overcutter, Rotator. Durable, experienced, hard-hitting, works. Rotator is one of the most balanced and versatile robots. This would be Terrortops' first real test as a competitor. Terrortops chased Rotator with its arms up, and the two smashed into each other. Terrortops looked a little stunned when Rotator came in again and spun Terrortops around. Now it was apparent that Terrortops had lost half of its drive already. Rotator diced into Terrortops' flanks to hopefully finish the job. sometimes using the hazards to help. Terrortops kept enduring up until the final minute. The pulverizer got some licks in, knocking off part of the yellow ribs off of the dino. And right after that, Terrortops couldn't move anymore, and despite its efforts to bring itself back by flailing its arms, it couldn't escape the countout, giving the win to the veteran. No shame in losing to Rotator. It's pretty uncommon to see horizontals beat the wedge plus vert combo nowadays, but Rotator can get it done, as it joins Shreddit Bro as part of round 2. Switchback returns here after bowing out of the round of 32, fighting fellow articulating vertical spinner Kraken. Switchback was pretty good this year. Kraken has been on a losing streak ever since its bounty hunter loss against Gruff in 2020. At least in Season 6, it put up decent fights despite losing all of them. But here in Season 7, the bot's drive struggled to work and it kind of just got stomped in every fight. But who knows? Shreddit Bro just KO'd Skorpios.
Let the bot battle begin!
After probably accidentally hitting the Narwhal minibot, Switchback pushed Kraken into the red square screws and flipped it over. Switchback timed another hit while Kraken was self-righting, which also ended up snapping Kraken's spinner belt. But since their arm was still fine, Kraken used the momentum to free itself off the screws. Assuming Switchback intentionally powered off its egg beater, it switched to controlling and pushing Kraken around, who could only really just flail the head in return. Kraken periodically emitted smoke, tried this cool little spinning thwackbot move, up until time ran out, and a judge's decision needed to be made. Nothing much to say other than Switchback handily won that unanimous decision. It was just your typical both bots lose their weapons and the one who had better control wins. It is a shame that we never got to see Kraken's weapon do much outside of the beta fight. I don't personally have a preference between the Crusher or the Spinner, so I'm not gonna say that they should switch back to the old pneumatic weapon. I just think that the main problem with the Spinner version was that its drive was kinda just slippery. Switchback is now moving on to face Shreddit Bro, and now we move on to the last fight of round 1, Ominous vs Valkyrie. Ominous is a Dutch bot that had a lot of hype behind it. It's a very unique Y-shaped Drisk spinner with 3-wheel omnidirectional drive. It's sort of the successor to Reality from Season 3. COVID got in the way of its participation in Season 5 and 6, but when it finally competed in Season 7, it did okay. It went 1-3, only beating Shreddit Bro, but it did bring big hits and was very fast. Not as fast as Claw Viper though. Valkyrie is a seasoned veteran with a nasty undercutter and a great paint job. Lots of newer robots fighting old veterans this episode. Valkyrie won Most Destructive Robot in Season 5, but it hasn't really relived the success it had in 2020. It went 2-2 in the Fight Night rounds and missed the cut for the main tournament. You could chalk it up to a new captain and driver having to deal with the apparent nightmare that is driving Valkyrie, but I honestly didn't really see any major driving errors. The Valkyrie has always had problems with the reliability, which I assume is because the weapon just hits so hard. To counter Valkyrie's 30-inch blade, Ominous came in with an armored plow.
Let the bot battle begin!
Ominous hesitated to spin up its weapon, doing so after Valkyrie already attacked twice. Valkyrie was able to chip away at Ominous's plow, tearing a piece off of the bottom. It looked like the shape of Ominous's front end couldn't really do the typical scoop and uppercut that most verts use against horizontals. It was back and forth for a while, sparks being shed, but no major damage, though Ominous's Omni wheels were starting to fall apart. And speak of the devil, we finally got the huge weapon-on-weapon hit. The bots were sent toward the opposite sides of the box near the screws, and while Valkyrie recovered, Ominous had lost most of its drive. Its one working wheel wasn't getting traction, so that meant it was completely immobilized. Pretty tense fight, and the build-up to the Thunderclap impact was worth it. Not to mention that we get a rematch between Valkyrie and Rotator in the next round. It is another shame that Ominous just didn't do well overall. I do hope that they're able to return, since now that Glitch is moving away from Omni Wheels, they're gonna be the only Omni-wheeled vert. Opening up the semifinals, Shreddit Bro and Switchback meet in round 2. Shreddit Bro's win over Skorpios was more dominant than Switchback's match against Kraken, and that's saying a lot. Both are drums, but weapon on weapon, Shreddit Bro's smaller diameter means it's probably going to win direct interactions. But Switchback used its plow, which can prop the drum up. Switchback still has a better death hum though. Shreddit Bro slowly approached Switchback, who hung back in its square as both weapons fired up. They both gingerly made contact, and Switchback punted Shreddit Bro upside down. Somehow, Switchback's beater belt snapped, I guess from the shock of that hit, but it's surprising because it wasn't anything huge. Shreddit Bro self-righted and began to grind Switchback's flanks. Armor was getting bent up before Shreddit Bro slammed Switchback into the corner. Switchback kept getting knocked around by SB relentlessly, until a huge uppercut sent Switchback several feet up and flipping through the air. They landed resting on the now disabled arm, with a base plate for all the crowd to see. Make it 2 brutal disassemblies from Shreddit Bro in a row. Here's a rematch of the legendary fight from Season 5, Valkyrie vs Rotator. That fight is considered one of the best ever, so it was excitingly chalked up to happen again at the predictions. Valkyrie broke through Rotator's armor at the last second, winning the match via a judge's decision, though both weapons died. Rotator obviously used its anti-horizontal wedge again. Where's the old diamond wedge, bro? Unlike in 2020, Rotator immediately came in weapon first and went on the offense. Valkyrie's tough, wedge-shaped front absorbed Rotator's disc fairly well, and for a while it was slow, methodical part picking. Both suffered minor tire damage, and Rotator was surprisingly not using its wedges much, and we get the first quote-unquote moonshot that spun Valkyrie around and nearly flipped Rotator. Despite Valkyrie being the one without a left wheel guard, it was the BattleBots' left wheel that was torn, just barely hanging on enough to allow for some traction. Over halfway through the match, at this point, Rotator could only just square up as Valkyrie was the one going on the offense and grinding away. By the end of the match, Rotator's armor was visibly loose, but the robots made it to the end. I think Rotator knew that their cautious approach in 2020 was what did them in, so Victor Soto used the disc much more frequently. Unfortunately, Valkyrie was able to grind the tires underneath the wheel guards, and when they bounced on top. Via a unanimous decision, Valkyrie is the one who will face Shreddit Bro in the final. So who between Shreddit Bro and Valkyrie will be the first to join the champions in the final Golden Bolt tournament? Well, Shreddit Bro shredded Skorpios and Switchback to death, while Valkyrie took a bit more time with Omnis and couldn't quite kill Rotator. But there's no way, right? Shreddit Bro with the likes of Endgame and Sawblaze? I bet the champs themselves would laugh at the idea. Yeah, you already know what's gonna happen to Valkyrie.
Let the battle begin!
In a funny display, Valkyrie smacked Shreddit Bro away with Sweet Caroline. But once the robots went face to face again, Shreddit Bro got a satisfying pop on Valkyrie. And then another one, which killed the drum. Dang. But Shreddit Bro didn't give up, and it looked like Valkyrie might have had its weapon unbalanced just barely as it was wobbling ever so slightly, and was just not driving well. Shreddit Bro was constantly shoving itself into Valkyrie's blade, face-tanking every hit, and not allowing any space for the undercutter. Valkyrie was barely moving, and after it got shoved into one of the corners, all it was doing was wobbling. That wasn't good enough for the referees, and would you look at that? Valkyrie was being counted out by Shreddit Bro. You know what that means, right?
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man? Get your ass on, boy. You get your goddamn ugly ass on.